Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. We're really glad that you're here today, whether you're watching us live or if you're listening to us on the audio podcast. We're really glad you decided to be in our audience. I see we have some people saying hello already. Joe Conjal says, good evening,
hey,
Rob
Joe.
and Joe. Hi, Joe. Glad that you could make it in. C.W. Hawes, happy
Hey,
to see
CW.
you. Howdy, Rob and Joan. Howdy, C.W.
Howdy, partner.
Yep. And I'll be repeating this again, if I can remember. Every week now, we're having trouble with Facebook. So what happens is, as you're trying to get into Facebook, we are having to remove it and put it back on. And we can't do it ahead of time. We have to do it while we're...
Yeah, they bump us out.
They bump us out. So
but we're getting better at restoring it. So
as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
So just keep trying if that's where you like to watch us. Paul Hollis says, evening, Rob and Joan. Good
Hey,
evening, Paul. How are you? It's good to see you. Marjorie Daring says, hello. Yes, I'm
Marjorie.
watching live. I think I'm alive.
well, I hope so.
I'm so glad.
We have some equipment. We can check it out.
We're
Make sure.
broadcasting live, too.
Yeah, there you go.
I think.
Yeah.
I
Ouch.
pinched him, so I didn't want to be
Jeez.
pinched. Paul Rushworth Brown says, hello from sunny Sydney. Hey, Paul, glad you could be here tonight.
Down under Paul.
Well, in the morning for you.
Very
Joe
good.
Conjal said, I got in with that issue. Good.
That's good. Good. Okay,
Good, I'm glad.
We're getting faster at it, so that's good.
We're
thing.
getting faster at taking it down and putting it back up again.
Yeah. I want to remind everybody about Thursday nights at 9 o'clock. Go to wdjyfm.com and you can listen to our shows there. Or if you're in the Atlanta area, you can tune in on your FM radio, 99.1 FM, Atlanta. Anywhere in northern Georgia, pretty much. Saturday nights at 5:30 p.m. Watch our episode rewinds. They're still cranking along there. Next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, Meet the Author Live will be Noah Asher is our indie author. It'll be on May 29th, May 29th. And tomorrow night on WDJY, you can hear Terry Brown's most recent episode. So,
Oh, cool.
all right. And then, let's see, next Thursday is the 30th of May. Haunted Campfire Tales is going to be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here. Well, no, actually, go to the Tampa Bay Spirits Facebook page. Our paranormal investigation team welcomes Michelle Shelley Hansen. What does she do? She reads shells.
She reads shells.
Seashells.
Seashells by the seashore.
By the seashore. Well, generally, I think.
No.
But at any rate, it should
She
be very
read
interesting.
my shells and she
did.
nailed my
She nailed it.
personality.
Yeah.
I think I might be an easy read, but that's okay. Joy Shelton York says, hi, everyone.
Joy.
Hi, Joy. We're
Welcome
glad
aboard.
that you're here. Joe Conchal said, okay, I've been thinking about this a lot, Joe. Any update on that certain magazine thing in the UK?
I saw her name today, and I got to check.
We've got to check with them
check it out and give
because
you an update
they've
next
never,
week.
they've never gotten back to us.
Okay. No,
George Dismuke says, I'm here.
hi, George. You made it. You slid into home plate here.
Well, George, you think, therefore you are.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. A big thanks goes out to Julia Bodwell. She's the owner of the Gilded Page Bookstore in Tarpon Springs, Florida.
Yeah, we had so much fun.
Yeah, she hosted a book signing for us. We had, it was us and R.J. Eastwood, Sandy Will, and Steve Altier. And we had a real good time. It was a pretty warm afternoon, but it was really great getting to meet everybody. Steve's book, The Camping Trip, right here. Got that. And Sandy Will's book, right here. The Cajun at Deadwater Manor. So looking forward to reading those.
Something interesting happened, though.
What's that?
While we were there, the producer of Tampa Bay Screams came in and met us, and also Beth and Les. Any of you that know about Tampa Bay Spirits knew that Beth and Les are the founding members of Tampa Bay Spirits. Mm-hmm. And we were invited to have a booth at Tampa Bay Screams Con. So we're going to.
It's a horror con, but...
But they have a ghost section.
They have a ghost section and paranormal stuff, so should be fun. That's
Joe Conjal said, saw the pictures, looked like a great event. It was so fun. Tarpon Springs is fun anyway, you know.
Right.
Has good Greek food and is really cool. Has the sponge docks and stuff.
And one last item. We're in the final round. If you want to show our book cover, that'd be great.
Oh my gosh, final round.
The final round. Finally.
That's why
they call it the final round. You go to allauthor.com and it's the book cover contest. So you go to the contest tab, and then the drop down will give you some choices. You want to choose cover of the month voting. Click right there. Then all the covers. There's 24 covers left in the voting.
Out of 100.
Out of 200.
Out of 200.
Yeah. And we're in the lead right now. We've got about a 30 vote lead, but it's going to go on another 8 days. So it can evaporate quickly. So get in there.
And
if
then
you haven't voted, vote
no
for
more
our cover.
voting.
Yeah, I won't pester you anymore about voting. I am tired of it too.
Yes.
So,
just win the darn thing.
Yeah.
And Crispian, though, you know, the man who does the art for our book covers,
Wildwood Books,
for the underground authors, Welcome to Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles. He's amazing and he deserves it. Paul Hollis said, I voted twice so far. Vote again.
I hope in different rounds, because otherwise that's not kosher.
Well, you know what they used to always say in Cook County.
Yes.
Vote early and vote often.
Right. Even if you're dead. So,
especially if you're dead.
Well, do you have anything else you want to chat about?
No, I think we should maybe bring our guest on.
Yeah.
That's why they're here, to see him, not us.
Right. Well, without further ado, author Aaron Ryan. Hello, Aaron.
Hello, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Welcome from the West Coast.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes.
I bet you didn't expect all of that at the beginning of the show.
Hey, I heard ghosts and voting and ghosts and voting and voting.
And ghosts.
I think it's a pretty good summary.
Yeah.
And not being able to get onto Facebook. Dang it.
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating. You love technology except when you need it.
Yeah. It starts up, it's on, and we're connected, and then they both cut off. And it's like, dang it. So we have to go in and reset them real fast. And fast, I don't do fast, do I?
No, he doesn't.
I don't do fast anymore.
So we have to take it down and then put it back up.
Put it back in.
We can't do it before the show because then it just goes down again. And StreamYard has no idea why it's happening. Right. They say it's Facebook's fault, and Facebook doesn't say anything because they never answer.
Because they don't talk.
Of course, yeah. It's like Facebook CPR. You have to perform every time.
Yes,
exactly.
So just persist, and you'll eventually get in, or go onto our YouTube.
Yeah. Meet the Author
YouTube, and you can watch there.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Less about us, more about you.
I was having all kinds of fun hearing about the voting. I used to be a wedding videographer, and so we would do a King 5 Best of Western Washington contest every single fall. And I hounded people like,
yes.
my friends list went down every fall, and then, came back up after that. So I totally know about campaigning and just it never ends.
Well, this is the fourth round.
Yeah, this is the fourth round.
The fourth round.
And I thought the third round was the end, so I started, soliciting votes, and I was saying it was the final, but it wasn't. Then I found out it wasn't. I went, oh no!
Had to go back and tell everybody one more run. And first of all, we had to be voted on to be in the contest. So for us, it's actually the fifth round. So. I mean, a lot of people applied to be in it and they didn't take everybody. So then we got in and then it was like, okay, the hard part's over.
Yeah. There's some really interesting covers. I think you've created an addict in me because I definitely had voted. But if you vote, then you get the emails that say, well, now vote for this category. And so I think I've wasted so much time today. That one. Oh, I have work to do. Excuse me.
There are some really nice covers. There's a lot of good covers there that are being represented.
Yeah.
So we're blessed that where we are. At any rate, less about us, more about you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Anything that you like sharing.
Boy, well, I actually have I think it's like 25, it may be 30, I can't remember. I created a page on my website. It's like fun and interesting facts. And some of those things are just bizarre, stupid, silly minutia, but they are a glimpse into my life. So I have a twin brother. That's one of the things I always like to say, but sadly,
identical or fraternal?
No, well, sadly, he doesn't look like me is what I lead into next. So. We are fraternal. May 18th was my birthday, so I had Mount St. Helens, a volcano, blow up on my birthday. And it's a serious claim to fame because I can, anybody else who has a birthday, did you have a volcano blow up on your birthday? Oh, no. Well, so it's my little claim to fame.
I feel cheated. Yeah. I didn't.
I've done all kinds of things in my life. My two loves have been authoring and music, but I've been seriously around the horn in I mentioned wedding videography, multimedia production, audio video transfer, duplication production, corporate videography, voiceovers. I do that now, singing, music, but I love, there's nothing quite like crafting a story and creating something that's yours. I mean, you created this whole world and these people, and they're yours. They're like your children, and they just love them to death. And so I did just finish my whole series, and I'm kind of in a little state of mourning, I would say, because it's just, it's all done, and you feel like, what do I do now? I'm so empty and purposeless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it. I'm so fulfilled as a writer. What can I say? Happy to be an author.
Yes. Why don't we bring up some of your covers so people can know what you're talking about? Let's start with the first volume. How about that? Good place to start.
Mm-hmm. I know that book. That looks like a great cover.
Mm-hmm. It is a great cover.
I'll vote for it.
I'd vote for it too.
That's where it all began. That's basically the log line is, I don't know when you want to cue me, if you have a time to explain. I think I just kind of, it burst out of me is what I like to tell people. The story burst out of me in 3 weeks' time, much like an alien queen, And I'm wearing, in honor of that, I'm wearing my alien shirt today. Sci-fi,
Good old Ripley.
Yeah, vote for Ripley and Hicks in 2024. It's the only way to be sure. I was terrified by 1981's Clash of the Titans, that claymation Medusa. And as I was crafting out this story, I knew that was, alien invasion based. I knew it was post-apocalyptic, but it was like, what are these nefarious creatures that have drifted down out of the sky? I mean, what are they? And they really took too close of a resemblance to a cross between, it was like a Dementor, Harry Potter Dementor, and Nazgul hybrid, Lord of the Rings Nazgul hybrid. And it's just, that's been done and that's been done. And so, yes, they float, yes, they hover, yes, they hiss, but I love Aliens, favorite movie of all time. And I love the Clash of the Titans, although it terrified me as an 8-year-old. Just that, if anybody remembers, it was that claymation, and her eyes light up green. You're like, ugh. So these don't do that, but they have invaded our world on June 6th, 2026. And then they hovered there silently for 3 months. We didn't know what they were, why they were here, what do you want? And then on September 3rd, 2026, they activated. And they started hunting us all down. They have a tremendous telepathic ability to freeze us, immobilize us where we stand. It's kind of like the drug Trank, not that I have any experience, but that new drug that kind of leaves people in a like a slooped over catatonic state. It's a paralysis that sets in.
It's called after lunch.
Yeah, it's
when you're in your
called
70s.
something.
When you get to be our age.
Yeah.
It's called something. Yeah, then they can consume you at their leisure. So it's pretty horrifying, but you're aware of every single bite. And
that is what on the cover now, it says, plug your ears, and whatever you do, don't look. The war for humanity has begun. So the ears and the looking has something to do with making you catatonic or whatever.
Well, it's a little bit of the log line is a little bit of a play on both warring factors in here. Whatever you do, don't look is obviously a reference. You cannot make eye contact with them. The second book, if I may, he's actually looking at him, but he's got a mask on. So you'll learn that, takes part in the second book.
Here's the second book.
Yeah, you cannot make eye contact with them or they'll freeze you. The plug your ears, you can see a white waveform, an audio waveform behind the monster. They're called gorgons. We call them gorgons because their ability is, much like Medusa's, to turn you to stone. That is a waveform that is representative of a weapon that we've found that they actually brought. It's their Achilles heel. And we've found a way to manipulate that and generate frequencies that just overwhelm them.
Oh, good.
And
that's
so
good news.
Yeah,
that's how we fight back. Yeah, you have to have some kind of weapon. Give them
you
something.
have to have hope, right?
You do have to have hope. Yeah, it's kind of like an EMP, but it's on an audio frequency that just they can't stand. They take flight, and it can destroy them. So, yay!
So Joe Conjal says, "Hi, Aaron. The best way to get over the end of a series is to jump right in and create a new series." So I guess the question there is there going to be a new series, or are you not thinking about that yet?
Well, the funny thing was I have I've done plenty of podcasts and interviews. I love talking about my books. And one of the things I've always said was I'm going to be done after volume 3. And it was like this unstoppable force meets the immovable object, whatever that is. I could not tangibly untether from the Dissonance series when I was done with 3. There's so much story that takes place from the date of 2026 when they arrive and invade, and the date that this is set in is 2042. There's a lot of story there. So I went back in and created the prequel, and the prequel is launching June 6th in honor of Alien Invasion Day. And yeah, it turned out so good because you see the light and the dark. You see the silliness and the life and the day-to-day stuff, much like you see there. And then it just goes horribly, horribly wrong and south. And
even a rainbow.
I like this.
Yeah.
We thought they were angelic messengers. We were wrong.
It's pretty simple, isn't it?
It's terrifying.
Well, it leaves a lot to be explained, doesn't it? I actually had an original cover that was voted down, and for really good reason. It was almost unanimous. People said I had it as they drifted down one day. 3 months later, 85% of humanity was dead.
Oh, man.
Whoa, that's a little heavy.
That kind of, that's how many they killed off in actuality in my story.
Yeah. Wow.
Hi, Aaron Ryan, author / mass murderer. They actually did that, but that line is so, I already know what the whole book's about.
Yeah.
Right? We thought they were angelic messengers. We were wrong. Well, how were we wrong? What were they actually? And what did they do? And it just leaves a lot to be journeyed through.
Marjorie Deering said, those cover lines are brilliant in their simplicity. I agree. That's why I read them, because I loved all of them. They're all good. You know,
Yeah.
that makes you want to read the book.
The log line is so important. I'm actually working with a screenwriter right now, and I ran everything past him. He loved the first one. He said, it's just, it's great. When I ran the second one by him, he said, for reasons, he clarified with me later in the day, but he said, for reasons that I can't discuss in brevity over email, I am absolutely in love with this new creation, far and away beyond what you had before. And we'll talk. And it was just,
great.
Yeah, I got chills. Everybody was in favor of the new one.
Well,
that's awesome.
Believe it or not, it's time to take our first break.
Yeah, folks.
When we come back, you're going to read, right?
I'm going to read.
All right. Hang on. Don't go away, folks.
It's every parent's worst nightmare. Police officer Madison Jackson awakes to discover her baby kidnapped from her crib. Was it revenge for someone she arrested, or something far more sinister? Madison's estranged husband is incarcerated in Supermax. As the second in command of a deadly Mexican cartel, did he issue the order to abduct their daughter? Bye, Baby, Bye, from author Kelly Marshall. Get your copy today.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Now comes part 4 in the Jaguar series by retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. In this saga, Brandon, Andrea, and Naja, the Black Jaguar, go deep into the Mato Grosso jungle on a mission to rescue 2 kidnapped children. During their journey, they encounter many dangers, including Yanomami Indians, bent on revenge for the murder of one of their warriors.
Return of the Jaguar is book 4 in the Jaguar series, starting with 2 faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City, and the Jaguar's Quest. All 4 are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other bookseller websites worldwide. Return of the Jaguar is a must-read.
Profiteers are preying on displaced souls who seek freedom, sacrificing everything. Wanting to give their children hope and a future, but they wrongly trust on a roll of loaded dice. Teens are picked off and sold into slavery. Cartels offer the choice to strong young men to move illegal drugs over the border, or die. The R Group and CATS team leaders want to end Mateo's inhuman business model. The heroes must derail the human exploitation and opioid epidemic, killing people in increasingly dramatic numbers. If they can save even a few from the jaws of death, they win. The present-day battle is in full swing, yet it can end badly for humanity unless the Enigma heirs triumph. Who will survive the onslaught, and how fast can they make Mateo pay?
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
So cool.
So
They're all cool.
you wanted to read a passage?
I would love to. And I think, is there a time limit? 4 or 5 hours? Is that what I heard?
Yeah,
45 hours.
You just stop me if I'm approaching a limit, will you? Because I don't know. I haven't timed this.
Okay.
Really.
Okay. Which
This
book
is
is this from?
So this is from the first volume. This is called Dissonance Volume 1 Reality. And Jet comes back to the blockade with his brother Ruddy and has some interchange and banter with Captain Stone. They go back to their bunks. They're tired. They're worn out. They've been out all performing reconnaissance missions. And Jet is back in his bunk. Takes off his boots, gets ready to sleep, can't sleep, and it remembers back to when the aliens first came and invaded the world. So here we go. I remember when the Gorgons first arrived in 2026. Admittedly, we were all enthralled. I was too. Sis was especially enthralled. Somebody in Guatemala spotted the first one, if I remember correctly. It just came drifting down straight out of the sky near sunset, so humanoid and yet enshrouded in mist. They had angelic qualities to them. Some of us wondered if they were messengers from God. Their bodies were cloaked in that bluish-green vapor. It was really creepy, but for whatever reason, it's the creepy things that draw us in the most. We just can't look away, like a moth to a flame. Then there was another, and 5 more, and then 20 more, 50, 400. More kept coming, just slowing down to a geostationary orbit 50 feet above the ground all over the earth. The dogs were perpetually screaming and howling. Some of their ears were reportedly even bleeding. They were running mad, whining and cowering in terror, fleeing to dark corners with their tails between their legs. I was only 7 then. Ruddy was just 3. Sissy was 6. But I remember it all. In the 16 years since then, they laid waste to pretty much everything, except the blockades, of course. Oh, they knew where they all were, and we didn't like it when they didn't like it when we ventured out for any reason. They got especially hot if they saw any of us heading in any direction that even remotely resembled going toward a coastline. No matter the continent, they wanted us pigeonholed far inland. We could never figure out why. Some straggled around by day still, but all we knew concretely was that they mostly reappeared every evening near dusk. Where they all largely disappeared to during the day, no one ever really knew. Apparently, they didn't like sunlight, and they would almost entirely vanish for a month on end during the summertime when it got into the high 80s and 90s. Those were our reprieves. It was times like that we actually praised all the ozoners that went before us, inconsiderate humans with their carbon emissions, fossil fuels, aerosols, and CFCs. They didn't know it, but they were actually helping us, warming up the planet, making the atmosphere hotter and hotter, more inhospitable to not just us, but them as well. I heard recently that a team of guys actually wrangled a gorgon in the heat of summer while wearing some kind of protective eye shields, and they stripped it down. It just flailed, writhed, and screamed as it baked in the hot summer sun, sizzled and smoked even. Apparently, they had some vampiric traits too. Never found out any more about it because you can't trust all stories, and I, for one, don't plan to wrangle any gorgon to see if it tries to suck blood too. I remember the first time I saw one for myself. Back then, they weren't really evil to behold. They just had this sort of ethereal quality to them, angelic almost, and they just sat there and hummed, floated. We tried to make contact with them, of course, but they never moved. For 3 months, they just stayed there as more and more of them slowly floated down, taking up positions. We all got uneasy, of course, because what the hell were they? Why were they here? Where did they come from? What did they want? All those questions piling up stunk more than the mound, frankly. That's their garbage pile behind the blockade. But then we got our answers, sure enough. Whether through some kind of telepathy or some primitive form of timing, they all began to move. One by one, they clicked on, like a countdown had finished or a switch had been flipped. And that's when they started hunting us down. Nothing we did mattered. Hiding was of little use. Shooting at them only made them move angrier, and they'd get faster. And that high-pitched shriek and dropped jaw thing. Lord. I remember a man kept shooting and shooting at one perched on the corner of a pretty tall building. I think he had a sniper rifle. But with each shot, the gorgon hurtled downward faster and faster until both it and the man disappeared in a thunderous cataclysm of concrete and dust. The gorgon was the only one that came out of that pit, a little fatter than it had been before it smashed down. So there's an example.
That was terrifying.
Yeah, they're delightful, really.
Yeah, lovely.
I needed something that was really terrifying. Like, just there's nothing worse than kind of being handicapped in every way to fight back against a predatory species. Now, you've got lions that'll attack you. You've got cheetahs. You've got, wolves and whatever other predators, even an eagle or something could attack you. But you just can't make eye contact with these things. And they're very fast. They've outrun F-35 jets. Just very scary.
So and they come screaming down, which doesn't help either.
No, that doesn't help.
And they're mean to dogs. So I think we need to kill them all.
That's really bad.
That is bad. That is the worst.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Paul Rushworth Brown says, you read well. I tried taping an audiobook. Couldn't do it with all my slurring and stuttering.
Oh, it's a
Joe
hard
Conchal,
process.
it is.
It
Joe
is.
Conchal said, very cool. Enjoyed the reading. Yeah,
Thank you.
it was good.
Well, I don't know if you can see back there, but that's actually my voiceover booth. So I am a voiceover artist, and I am, everybody was like, well, who are you going to get to record your own books? And I was going,
Now, who could I get? Let me think.
So I found me. I put me in there, but it's become something of like a real cathartic process. I don't think I would have been content in trusting that to someone else. No one knows the characters or loves the characters as much as I do.
That's right.
And I'm not going to say who it was. There's a spoiler, but someone dies and is killed by what's called a berserker gorgon in volume 1. It disassembled me in the writing. I was trembling. I was bawling as I was sitting here writing. That process repeated itself during editing, and then it repeated itself again during recording.
Oops.
Well, you can hear it. I mean, you can hear I'm crying, and that's authentic. That's authenticity in the recording.
That's true. That's true. Tell it's real.
Marjorie Deering said, I really love the casual, easygoing tone of the character's narrative. And Joy Shelton York said, I agree, sounded great. Paul Rushworth Brown, with my Aussie accent, nobody would understand me. Actually, Paul, with your Aussie accent, everybody would want to hear you read.
Yeah.
Because Americans are suckers for an accent, especially a British or Aussie one.
Yeah, that's right, mate. I think you should give it a go. Don't be shy.
Exactly.
Yeah, one of the greatest compliments I received, and I've actually heard from a number of people, is that it's an easy read. And at first I was offended by that. I mean, it was like, I know intellectual authors that write content, and you ever read a book and you're reading the material and you go, what did I just read? You got to go back up to the top, and you just spaced this whole way. I don't read like that. I mean, I'm an intelligent person, but I can't follow along if it's trying to just drown me in multisyllabic words and just complete. They've obviously shift F7'd their way through it and everything so complex. But I like to write an easy read that you can actually follow along and enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have read books like that where I have to reread the paragraph and say, now, wait a minute, what is he actually saying here?
Yeah, it's too much. You should never try to impress your reader. You should try to entertain or carry your reader along in a story and not try to, overwhelm them with all that you know. It's just, unless that is the nature of your book, you're trying to
educational book. That's a different thing.
Yeah. Which is why I like historical novels, because it's like taking medicine with sugar. I'm learning history, but enjoying it as I go. So are you thinking of writing another series, but, maybe a different series, or have you not given it much?
So I have only given a brief, tiny little iota of thought to perhaps a sequel to this, because ultimately the way that Dissonance Volume 3 Renegade resolves is it is resolved. The war is won. There's a little bit of a spoiler, but the war is won. However, there's a gigantic object out there in space, which is where they came from, and it's not destroyed. So there's a possibility of something, happening there. But I think the idea that I've come up with for this next novel, which is called Forecast, I'm very excited about it. I don't think that it lends itself to a series because I'm counting the chapters down backwards. So it's going to be chapter 1 is 23 days to go, and then chapter 2 is 22, and so on and so forth. And maybe I'll jump, skip a day. But I don't think that it's going to lend itself well to a series or a trilogy. I do like the notion of approaching some kind of novel about an anti-hero. I'm fascinated by the anti-hero. I have heroic powers. I don't want them. I don't know why I have to live this way and have these things. And I'm fascinated by that struggle, but I'm not there yet. So we'll see.
Marjorie Deering says, you're right. Reading should be a pleasure, not a chore.
Right.
Yeah.
And Paul Rushworth Brown said, that's a good idea. Going 23 down to day 1.
Yeah. Well, boy, someone, I don't remember who I was talking with about this, but to dive back into the prequel for a second.
Okay.
Dissonance Volume 0. So to explain why it's 0, this is Dissonance Volume 1 reality. And the waveform in the background here is this audio. It's called a dissonant tidal flood. It's a DTF device like an EMP that we've created to drive off or kill the Gorgons. So that's Volume 1. And then it gets louder at Volume 2. And then it gets loudest at Volume 3. So it's a double entendre with the name of, this is a volume, as is this, but it's also volume. However, when you go to the prequel, they don't have that technology yet. We have not discovered that yet. They've only just invaded. So it is Volume 0. We don't have a weapon to fight back with yet. It's Volume 0 because it has to come before 1. But it's also Volume 0 because we're being annihilated and we can only try to survive, right?
And there's no volume being blasted at them. So you even reflect that in the color, of as it gets louder, the color changes.
Yeah, and I think when you reach Volume 3, there's a sense of regalism and royalty to purple. And I didn't want to go just straight red. It's just been done. And I like the fact that we are victorious. We're reinstated to our rightful place, on Earth. But one thing I was able to employ that I was so happy with and grateful for, I have never read a first-person narrative where the protagonist dies. I've never read that because, of course, when that happens, the story's over. The book is over. So a spoiler at the end of Volume 0, I threw someone in between a Gorgon and someone else, and the narrative starts to slow. I intentionally misspell words and double letters and more spaces, and he's slurring and slowing and being paralyzed, and then the end. And it's a creepy kind of, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
he just died. And he's telling the story, so there is no more story.
yeah.
I've never been able to do that before, so I was so excited for that.
And so sad that you killed off a very nice person.
I know. I don't like playing God. I know we talked about this before, but I absolutely killing off a character, primary, secondary, or tertiary. It's such a hard process, and it should only be done to further the protagonist, to serve as a catalyst for furthering the protagonist towards his mission or his discovery or his growth. You don't just arbitrarily, killjoy, kill off people. It has to serve a purpose, because otherwise it's meaningless. And so the people that I've had to kill off in the storyline, it's agonizing. Number one, it's agonizing to see them go. But what has been so redemptive is to go back and write the prequel, and some of them are alive again. And that's been such a rich experience. And I didn't, call me crazy, but I didn't even anticipate that until I started writing. I went, oh my gosh, he's alive again.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Oh man, it was so exciting.
Got to spend time with them again.
Yeah, you love these characters. Now they're young, healthy, they're okay. For a while, at least.
You'd think you would want to warn them about what's going to happen.
And I could have written a character in to warn them. Whatever. I'm so unkind, so uncaring. mean author. I'm a mean guy on a cloud with a BB gun. I don't know.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a very terrifying trilogy. And now it has a prequel. So, but yeah, that's scary. And the thing is that there's all this stuff about UFOs and, what are they doing here now? And the government's come out and said, well, they're not ours and they're not theirs. So you're like, all right, who are they and what do they want?
Yeah, what is going to happen?
What is going to happen?
Well, I'll address that real quick if I can. This is actually Volume 3, Renegade. And you can see here there's a woman, and then on the other side there's a monster face.
Yes.
She is not a Gorgon. That is President Graham, and she becomes the primary antagonist of the trilogy. There is a power differential that doesn't suggest in any way that it is a dystopian novel. She is the last remnant of government, along with advisors and whatnot, but she is a 4-term president by virtue of the invasion and us hiding. And she has overstayed her day. She is desperate to cling to power, and she has become nefarious. And so, yes, it's an alien book trilogy. Yes, it's monsters. But the message that you're going to learn as you drive through this is that there are more monsters out there than aliens. They're among us, and they're the people that should be working closely with us and for us. And the sad truth that you come away with is that 16 years of alien occupation from 2026 to 2042, we still don't get it. We're still working against each other. And there's, Cameron Shipley, the protagonist, ends up fighting wars on multiple fronts, not just against Gorgons. And that's really sad. It's sad that he has to do that.
Sounds like it's realistic. We need to take our last break here. And okay. So everybody hang on. Don't go away. We got a lot to talk about yet. And we're going to let everybody know how to reach you, Aaron.
Yes.
So you can't get away.
Okay. Sounds good. I don't want
to. Hang in there, folks.
An unforgettable mystery thriller that will transport you back to 17th century England. Introducing Dream of Courage, facing fear head-on, your passport to 17th century mystery, mayhem, and murder. Follow Robert and John Rushworth through Leeds' bustling Briggate district, where danger lurks in the shadows, embodied by the thief-taker Jacob Wilding. You will laugh, you will cry, and be in awe of the twists and turns. Its meticulous attention to character development, emotional nuance, and the unfolding of the story's layers promise a compelling and emotionally charged journey. The U.S. National Times said, "Modern writers usually don't know what it was like to live in the past, but Rushworth Brown does this with great skill." Uncover the secrets of Smythe, the enigmatic tavern keeper who sends Robert to the Haven, to the pirate Captain Girlington. Will he outwit danger in the nick of time?
It's 1919, and Eric Laska returns from the war in Europe. 2 new enemies await him in the small, coal-mining town he calls home. One is a threat to his relationship with Rebecca, the love of his life. The other, a bloodthirsty beast, is stalking the mining town residents. The townspeople suspect Eric of one of the killings. An old man and Rebecca's 11-year-old sister have seen the beast, but only Eric believes their story. To protect the town and clear his name, he's forced to prove the werewolf exists. Available on Amazon. The Horror Within by Marjorie Swift Doring.
Paradise, my prison. Charlie Flint awakens from a deep sleep and finds himself alone on a tropical beach surrounded by a palm tree jungle and exotic animals. He cannot remember who he is or anything about his life. First, he must find food and build shelter and protect himself from hidden dangers. As his memory gradually returns, it reveals what a very flawed person he is. A man who made too many mistakes, made too many enemies. The implications of the truth are staggering. How did Charlie get there? And will he save himself? Paradise, My Prison is the riveting new suspense thriller from retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. Paradise, My Prison by George Dismukes is available in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats worldwide.
And we're back. Welcome back, everybody. Let me show you where you can reach this wonderful author. His main website is author Aaron Ryan. That's AuthorAaronRyan. And I'm sure that they can find all of your social media and all that on there, right?
Correct. Just scroll to the very bottom. Everything's there.
Okay. And then there's also the trilogy website. It's dissonancetheseries.com. And that is DISSONANCETHESERIES.com. What will they find on that website, Aaron?
Yeah, well, that's actually devoted to the whole trilogy. Dissonance means lack of harmony. And it's, we've got lack of harmony with aliens, we've got lack of harmony with humans. And so that's the whole thing. And then you've created this dissonant audio that kills the aliens. So it's the whole story is there as far as what it's about, features on the books, reviews, blog entries, blah, blah, blah. There's goods galore.
Do you have a newsletter or mailing list?
Actually, it's kind of a weird, funky link because I had to redirect it. So authoraaronryan.com/blog, they can go there and they can actually sign up on the blog. And I call it enlisting. You enlist because it's the war against the Gorgons. You can enlist at the blog, and then I'm not going to spam you. I don't do a blog except for maybe once every few weeks, something like that, or after a major development. And I do have some major developments happening right now, one being a screenplay being formed of Dissonance Volume 1 Reality for pitching to streaming networks that I'm so stoked about. So you'd find out about stuff like that by subscribing.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that, if that was going to happen.
Yeah, it's happening. I meet with him every few weeks. He's got more progress to it. The pitch is almost ready to be made. He's creating a treatment, a character Bible. He's just a wonderful guy that found me. I'm prolific on social media, I guess. And his assistant reached out. I vetted him thoroughly online, but that's what you want to see, right? You create a book and you envision it, and you want people to see that, lived out. So if that hits the screens, I'm going to look like this the whole time. So stoked.
Paul Rushworth Brown says, nice to meet you, Aaron. Good luck with the books. Love you, Rob and Joan. We love you too, Paul.
Love you too, Paul.
And it's in the morning there, and he probably has things that he has to do.
Yeah, he's in the future.
Yes.
Right.
We're back here on Wednesday.
We're on Wednesday, and he's already on Thursday.
Lingering the past. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you,
if it is made into a movie, it's going to be a scary one for sure.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I'd like to say that it is definitely science fiction, but it's literary fiction for sure because of the inherent thematic elements that are present in it. Justice versus revenge. The character is going on a faith journey through the whole arc of the story and questioning, going from cynicism to trust. He has to intentionally trust. And we ask those questions every day. Can I trust you, friend or foe? Like we do that every day. And Cameron is no different. Cameron Shipley is no different. But the justice versus revenge is a huge thing because he is robbed in Volume 1, fiercely so, abruptly so, and cunningly so. So he wants answers from the people who ordered this, this BS assignment that he had to go on that cost someone their life, and he wants revenge, but he needs to be curtailed, redirected, and encouraged to pursue justice, letting justice happen, not taking revenge. So it's a very emotional story he goes on.
More than just scary monsters.
It is. Well, to quote Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Yeah, there you go. I knew that would come. I gave you a lead in there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Marjorie Daring says, no one has asked yet, plotter or pantser?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am more of a plantser. So I do a different term, a planner or pantser, but it's the same thing. I am more of a plantser. I love and I prefer to let my stories develop organically. So as they are threading their way through Clarksville, Tennessee, the protagonists, I'm watching on Google Maps Street View, or aerial view. And there's literal actual street names in there that they're going down and literal buildings that they're coming along. But I have guideposts and mile markers at certain points, but I'm not a, drill down deep. They need to talk about this and this bird needs to fly there. I really like to have happen organically. But they do, if you don't have somewhere that they need to go, then they lose all forward momentum and forward trajectory. So there are places that they need to go, but how they get there, when they get there, I kind of let that evolve fairly naturally. So more of a pantser than a planner.
Yeah. Have you ever had it happen that you thought the story would go in one direction and it ended up going in a different direction?
Well, I'll be real honest. I wasn't really aware, and even in my subconscious, about the nefarious undertones of government coming into play, and Cameron having to fight a war on multiple fronts, because that's ultimately what this is. I mean, there's obviously it's got a real military vibe to it. There's planes and jets and tanks and an aircraft carrier. That wasn't part of my original story. It was battling back against the Gorgons. But here you have these people who are subtly eroding your confidence in government, in leadership. You're asked to do things that just simply don't make sense. So I was not planning to go there. It took me there. And when it's not really a spoiler, but when they launched the first DTF, it's a dissonant tidal flood. That's the weapon that they are able to employ against the Gorgons. Cameron didn't know that was coming. He wasn't informed, and that fuels his cynicism. I didn't even know about any of this. What's going on? You're not being told. And so when that happened, that's when I went, there could be a lot more going on behind the scenes. And doesn't that grate against everybody? Like, you want to know. Knowledge is power. And if you're not told, and you're a grunt, no offense, if you're in the military out there serving, you don't want to be thrown to the wolves. You want to know why you're being thrown to the wolves. And he's not told by the people who he loved dearest and trusted most.
It's it'd be sad to think that we would be like that people would still be worried about whether they still got to be president the next 4 years, instead of worrying about what the people needed in the middle of a crisis like that. I can remember, and I'm sure everybody else does, when then President Ronald Reagan said at the United Nations, what we need is an alien invasion from, another planet, because then everybody would come together in the world and fight against that one thing. It's kind of sad to think that maybe we wouldn't do that.
Well,
that
look at what
human
happened.
nature would be human nature still.
Yeah. Look at what happened immediately on the coattails of 9/11. I mean, obviously
That's
we
right.
came together for a short while, didn't we?
Short while.
But
Did not last long.
no,
No more waving of American flags.
I think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think down through history, you're going to constantly hear reverberations of Rodney King. Can we all get along? And it's sad that we don't.
It is.
Very.
Joe Conjo said, what type of marketing do you do, and what has been most effective?
Yeah, so I stand on a street corner with my sandwich board, wearing my sandwich board and ringing my bell. No, but I'm actually, that's not far from the truth, because this summer is just dotted every weekend virtually, has trade shows, vendor markets, craft fairs. I am so looking forward to those. I hated being a wedding videographer, excuse me, but I loved doing the trade shows, because I loved meeting people and talking about them. And this time it's not about weddings, but I get, I can say, look at these, and here's the story, and I get to tell you about them. So marketing trade shows, direct in person. I'm very active on social media. I do run Amazon ads. I've run Facebook ads, TikTok ads. I admin a 32,000 member Facebook authors group, which is not an author's audience. Other authors are not your audience unless you want to bounce, ideas off of them and stuff like that. But it's really good for networking. I've taken out ads, in the paper. I think what has really worked the best for me, honestly, is just simply raising awareness through Amazon ads. That people are searching for the book on Amazon. That's where the books are. Now, granted, I publish through Ingram Spark and Draft 2 Digital, so they're in Barnes & Noble, and they're on Apple Books and Smashwords and Kobo and all of that. But I think by virtue of the fact that they're all right there, and you're running ads right there to find the product right there, that's what's yielding the most results. But I love, again, my favorite is just doing in-person trade shows and, getting to talk to people. And they always ask the same question. It's funny. Did you write these? And I'm like, it'd be so weird. Like, no, I'm hawking this guy's books over here. There he goes. It'd just be so weird. They always ask me that.
People do always ask that.
We got to take 1 second here to say goodnight to our WDJY Atlanta crowd that's hanging on your every word there, Aaron. Encourage them to come to your website and encourage them to get your books. But thank you for listening, Atlanta, and we'll see you next week.
It's funny because all of a sudden I saw Rob go, oh, wait a minute.
I saw the time.
He was so intently listening to you that he hadn't been watching our little timer up there.
Well, tell Atlanta that Atlanta is very close to Alpharetta. One of the primary characters comes from Alpharetta, and they're only about 200 miles southeast of Clarksville, Tennessee. So they could read the book and literally go to Clarksville and walk right where Jet and Trudy and Ruddy and Joe Bassett and Foxy and all of them walked, because I used Google Maps, from an aerial view.
We know Alpharetta very well.
There you go.
Yeah.
Our youngest daughter lived in Georgia for a while.
Oh, very cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
One of her best friends lived in Alpharetta. She didn't live, and now, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the town that she lived in.
Dallas, I think, wasn't it?
Dallas. She lived in Dallas.
Yeah. Mm. So you want to tell us a little bit about your publishing journey? Has it been rocky? Has it been easy? Has it been carefree?
No, it's carefree is not a word I would describe. However, in networking groups, it's not a consensus, really. There's so many people that are self-published. There's so many people that are traditionally published. I did approach publishers, but when I found out how long it would take for them to publish my books, I just went, okay, thanks, and take care. I am a very driven individual, so I designed these covers, although there are elements that I got from other people and paid for and all that. But I designed all the marketing. I designed all the covers. I did all the layout. I did all the keyword research and Kindlepreneur and Publisher Rocket and all that. I know about it. I'm familiar with it. And so I'm actually working on my 16th book, all of which have been self-published. I wouldn't say that it has been easy, because you definitely have to learn the ropes. You have to categorize them well. You have to experiment and re-experiment and tweak your descriptions and blurbs. You have to make sure that your cover is catchy and be willing to change it. If you get married to the cover and no one's buying it, it's time to reevaluate your cover and other things. But I have absolutely loved having all my irons in the fire, all my fingers in the pie, and just taking care of everything myself. That's my wiring, though. That doesn't work for everybody, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we believe in indie publishers. And
that's the best way to control it.
And also,
it's your creation. It's your baby.
Boutique publishers. Boutique publishers are really a good way to go to.
Yeah.
Small publisher that really works with you hand in glove, and
one that's going to really do the work.
Does the work and doesn't make you wait, a year before you even see your first draft. So,
right.
That's
it's a mixed bag. Some people really don't want to do the self-publishing, and they'd much prefer to have a traditional publisher take care of everything, including all the marketing. But what I'd say is for those people who are just starting out, really, 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 really clarify with them and do research on them to find out if they're hybrid or vanity, because they're just, no legitimate publisher is going to charge you anything to start up your book. You just kind of really got to be careful in that process. And I've met far too many people that have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars with a book that they weren't happy with. They just went that route, and it's flattering to be approached by a publisher, but you don't get approached by publishers. We approach publishers. If they're approaching you, they're a hybrid or a vanity publisher 9 times out of 10.
we have had some, traditionally published authors on here, published by Random House. And I mean, the original publishers, when you think of it.
Yeah.
And they have to do their own marketing. So not even Random House and Simon and Schuster does the marketing for you. You still have to do.
They get a few, appointments and appearances scheduled and that sort of thing.
Right.
Get you into the bookstores better and stuff like that. But as far as the marketing, it's your own ballgame.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone we've talked to, they do their own blogs. They do, they have an agent that will reach out to podcasters and TV stations and stuff like that and newspapers, but they have to do most of the work themselves. So,
I'm absolutely in support of that. The organic stuff and even the paid stuff, why wouldn't you? If you're so excited about your book and your story that you brought to life, like I wasn't kidding. I want to be out on a street corner with wearing a sandwich board and ringing my bell.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that thing. What's that?
I wrote this.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of it. It's not. Yes. It's funny because I've had this conversation with a number of people. It's not just a monster book or an alien book. They end up becoming more of a nuisance than the primary villain. They're just a nuisance, that we eventually can kick to the curb. But I'm so proud of the thematic stuff that has crept in and given it real substance and weight. And I'm so proud of the prequel. Just I bawled at so many points writing so much of this because it's so near and dear to my heart. And I tell everyone all the time, what do? I'm an author. You're an author? Yes. And I will be happy to talk to you for 4 hours now because I love it.
About why I'm an author and what I like about it.
Yeah. I love it.
Honestly, if you don't love your book, who else will? If your characters are not real to you, are they going to be real to anyone else? I mean, I really don't think they can,
Right.
The last book that we just published, we laughed and we cried while writing that book, and, if you don't have that kind of passion, what are you doing? Yeah. Who else will?
Right. I forget who it was. I just watched a video. I mean, we're always seeking new ways to market and become more effective at marketing.
Yeah.
I forget who it was, but she's fairly well known. And one of the things that she was saying, the first thing that she said, as far as attracting readers to your book, you have to adopt the mindset of an enthusiast. So not a marketer, not a business owner who has a product to sell, an enthusiast. And so, I mean, I'm complimented time and time again by people for my enthusiasm in my story and what I've produced. And that's what we have to do. Don't slough it off. This is a book I wrote. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. No. I love this story. I mean, I would lay down and I would read all of these back to back to back and just be immersed in the story and go, yeah. It's the enthusiasm that sells it, that tells people that it's worthy of their read.
I agree.
That's true.
Well,
okay.
This has been a great time.
It has been.
Gone over, of course, as usual.
At least you let the Atlanta folks go and the Australian folks go.
Yes. Well, yes, he did.
Main website is authoraaronryan.com. Drop by and say hi to him. I'm sure he wouldn't mind hearing from you as far as emails or any questions you might have further. And let's see. What do we got here? We got a comment, right?
Marjorie Deering says, it's been a genuine pleasure meeting Aaron, the kind of man I'd like to discuss writing with over a cup of coffee for, say, an hour or 5 or 20. I really enjoyed this. Thank you all. Yes, Marjorie, it's been really great. Really Joe Conjo says, great show tonight, Aaron. You are a bundle of energy. Thank you to you and, of course, Rob and Joan. Thank you, too, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Paul Hollis said, another good show. Thanks, Rob and Joan and Aaron. Thank you, Paul. And Paul is one of those boutique publishers that I was talking about. He's
so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Somebody you can trust.
There you go. So we're going to move you over to the side here. Thank you so much for joining us. Hold on to your seat there. Oh, wait, you're going the wrong way. There we go. Stay right.
Help. I don't know if that was helping.
It was sort of. You kind of balanced it out. Yeah, the computer monitor was starting to move.
Joyce Shelton York said, really enjoyed the show. Your enthusiasm is contagious, Aaron.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll wear a mask next time. I'm sorry.
Not that kind of contagious. I want to remind everybody to go over to allauthor.com and vote for a Chance of a Ghost cover. You got 8 days to do it.
That's the last time we're asking.
That's the last time. We won't ask again.
I know.
And come back next week to visit.
I feel like Aaron said that we have no friends left. They're like, oh my goodness, I know, right? Them again?
Next week is Noah Asher. Same time, same place, right here. And he's going to be a really good show. Let's see. I don't think there's much else that I've got. How about you?
Nope. I think we've said it all.
All right. Said it all in every which way we can.
Yes.
So I guess until next time.
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks. See you.
Good night.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen G's welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DV.com.